Hello, I'm Douglas from Gaijin-Eyes Tutorials. Although I was born and raised in Scotland, I later moved to Sweden, where I stayed for 32 years, before moving again and finally settling here in Kumamoto, Japan, just over 20 years ago. I started using ProShow Producer back in 2011. As to be expected, most of my slideshows contained images from Japan, so it was not so strange that I sometimes wanted to add titles in Japanese. Let's say that I was creating a slideshow on Kumamoto Castle, and this was my first slide. I wanted to add the name in Japanese. Unfortunately, this is what happened when I tried to do it in ProShow. I opened ProShow Producer, placed an image of Kumamoto Castle as my first slide, opened the slide. I wanted to add the caption Kumamoto Castle in Japanese. I had the Japanese text saved in Notepad. I copied it to my clipboard, Ctrl+C. I then clicked on Add a Caption and pasted the text into the caption text input box, Ctrl+V. 3 question marks appeared, one for each Japanese character. Then I realized I had not chosen a Japanese font. I deleted the 3 question marks, changed to a Japanese font, and pasted in the text again. Still 3 question marks instead of Japanese text. I contacted Photodex and was disappointed to hear that there were no plans to implement the use of Japanese into ProShow. I had to revert to making a PNG file in Photoshop and pasting that into my slide. Then along came Photopia and things changed for the better. I am now able to add Japanese text in the Photopia applications, and that is what I'm going to show you shortly. But first, a little information on how to prepare before starting to use Japanese text in Photopia. To begin with, you will need to install the Microsoft Input Method Editor, or MS-IME for short, and set it up for Japanese. You will also need to install at least one Japanese OpenType font, OTF, or a Japanese TrueType, TTC font. A web search will find details about MS-IME, and also there are a number of sites with free downloads of Japanese fonts. Over to Photopia. Once again, I placed an image of Kumamoto Castle as the first slide. I copy the Japanese text for Kumamoto Castle from Notepad onto my clipboard, Ctrl+C. I double-click on the first slide to open it, and I go to Add Caption and paste in the one I have on my clipboard, Ctrl+V. And it seems that nothing has happened. However, I notice that the cursor has moved forwards. In fact, if I drag backwards from the cursor, You can probably notice there is a blue rectangle showing, covering the space where the text should be. Oh, I see. I have made the same mistake as I did in ProShow. I haven't selected a Japanese font. If I scroll through my fonts to a Japanese one, the Japanese characters appear. Select OK, and they appear here on the screen. I can now position this. Once you get this far, you can treat this as any other title, where each character will react as a letter of the alphabet. Very quickly, for example, I could go to Outline, choose a red color, and I have the outline. By the way, when you change your settings to Japanese in MS-IME, you will have remapped your keyboard, and it is likely that some of the keyboard shortcuts you normally use in your native language will not function correctly. To fix the problem, you have to remember to change your IME settings back to your default language again. Depending on the feedback I get from this tutorial, I may create a follow-up going a little deeper into using Japanese text with the Photopia applications. And that's all for this tutorial. Bye for now.